And if we would stand, ask Larkin to lead us in the pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The introduction of our members is Larkin Ripa, Angie Robinette, Margaret Beavers, Ed Evans is not here, Georgia West, and the Superintendent and Secretary, Dr. Barker. The first item on the agenda is approval of minutes of August the 21st, 2025 regular session. Do we have a motion?
I'll second.
Any corrections? Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We have no delegations and speakers. Discussion items or board member reports and presentation. The first is exceptional learners, accountability data, and action plan. Dr. Christy East, Director of Exceptional Learners.
Thank you all for letting me speak to you tonight. Is that on? And go over our determination matrix that is given to us from the state. This is two parts. So on the front is results matrix, so this is our, can you hear me? Oh, is it too loud for you? These are like assessment scores and things that are pulled from WEVIS that are happening in the schools. So if you look at the second column that says state target percentage, that's our target, and it increases a little bit every year. And then you have where the state percentage is, and then LEA is where we are. And then how many points are possible, and then how many points are earned. And there are some categories where we can also get points for growth even if we don't meet it on the assessment. So if you look, indicator 1 and 2 is graduation and dropout, and this is of students with disabilities, and we did not meet either of those. We were at 73.47% for graduation, about 12% lower than the state target, and we were at 16% for dropout rate, and we needed to be lower than 3.67%. Indicator 3, A, B, C, and D are all assessment related for if they take the general summative assessment or the alternate summative assessment. Indicator 3A is participation, and you can see we got all points possible for participation, which is only 1/4 of a point per grade level, and they look at grades 4, 8, and 11, but they looked at ELA and math. And indicator 3B is proficiency rate on the general summative assessment, again in grades 4, 8, and 11. And we did not get any points there for meeting the target, but we did get 0.2 of a point for growth in grade 4 and 8 in ELA. And if you look at grade 8, we were really close to that. We needed to get greater than or equal to 8.2%, and we got 8%. So we were just 0.2 of a point away from meeting that in grade 8 ELA. Indicator 3C, that is proficiency on their alternate assessment. So those are our students with moderate intellectual disability. They have an assessment that they also take. If you notice, it's not applicable for points earned in MET or growth because you have to have at least 20 students at that grade level taking the assessment, and we don't have 20 students across the district that are taking that assessment. So it shows our scores and where we are, and we were close again, like in grade 8. On the ELA, we needed to be at or above 34.5%, and we were at 33.3%. And we actually were in grade 8 in math, needed to be at or above 9%, and we were 33.33%. So had our cell size been enough, we would have earned a point for that. But since it wasn't, then there was no, it's not a penalty or points, but we did actually meet the target there. Indicator 3D, this is the proficiency gap. So it's looking at how far ahead our general education students are scoring versus our special education students. And in grade 4, for reading and for math, we did not earn the points there, but we did in 8 and 11. And we needed to be less than or equal to 28.5%, and we were 29%. And what that is that your scores, when you separate out your special education students versus your general education students, how big the gap is between. And so you want it not to be really big, because you want your general ed students and your special ed students to be performing about the same on their assessment. Indicator 4A is suspension and expulsion greater than 10 days. We did meet the point there. 5A, B, and C are least restrictive environment, which is where you want to place your students when you look at when they qualify for special education services. You want to start least restrictive environment with the least amount of supports that you can provide a student and have them to still be successful. So you want to start saying, can they be successful in the general ed environment with accommodations? If not, then we look at pull-out model, and if not there, then we look at more time in a pull-out or in a self-contained classroom. And we did not meet any of the targets for least restrictive environment, and one of the largest discrepancies that we have was 5A, and that's from ages 6 to 21 with the LRE code of 0, which is least restrictive environment of 0, which means they spend at least 80% of their day in a general ed classroom with their same age peers. The state target is at or above 69%, and we are at 22% is what we had last year. Indicator 6, A, B, and C are pre-K environments. We did meet for 6A and 6B because we're 100% inclusive classrooms. We don't have separate special needs classrooms for pre-K anymore. Ms. Payton had made that change a long time ago, and we have her statement that she always makes is they're never more like their peers than in pre-K, so we'll put them together in pre-K. And that's true. So we made our targets there. And then 7A, B, and C. This kills me every time because we think that we're there and we monitor it and we train the teachers and everything. And it's on child outcome summaries. And it's like they have 3 marking periods where they mark the progress of the students. And they're measured. So like 7A has an A and a B, 7B has an A and a B, and 7C has an A and a B. All of the A's are that child measured from the time they entered pre-K to the time that they leave pre-K. And it compares, did they grow on their own developmental level? So were they a 1 when they entered, and then a 7 when they went to kindergarten? And it goes from 1 to 7. So that's what you want to see. Is a substantial growth on when you're comparing their ability to their own ability. And then the second part of that is when they're compared to their same age peers. So you're looking at a student that's coming with developmental delays and comparing that to where students without developmental delays enter versus when they leave, where are they at that point? And we want them to be as much like their general ed peers that don't have developmental delays as possible, but they do have developmental delays, so there is going to be a little discrepancy there. Indicator 8 is parent involvement. That's on the 3-year cycle, and it wasn't our turn last year, so it is our turn this year, so we'll have information on that for this year. And 14R and 14C, that is tied to 1 and 2 because we have a survey that we give out to our seniors, and the response rate is their the response rate that we got from them participating in the survey before they graduate. And then post-school outcomes, 1 year after graduation, we have to find all of our students that graduated, not the last year, but one whole prior year, and contact them, and they have a survey that they complete, and it's, are they in the military? Do they have a job? And they have to have, I think, at least 40% of, at least 2 days a week, they have to have employment. But it can be, are they mowing grass every day? Are they a cashier somewhere? Are they in the coal mines? Are they driving a truck? You know, whatever. Just some kind of employment that they have. That is how many of our students are in some kind of training, employment, or military 1 year after high school. So on the back, so you can see on the front, sorry, before we move, we earned 8.85 points out of 17.5 possible, which was 50.57%. And that is combined with the back part, which is compliance. So that's here what we do. Like at the central office, all of our data is timely and accurate. Our, I'll see about 5 minutes. Yes, you are. Okay. So anyway, you can see we earned all points except 2. And the only 2 points that we didn't earn were for 4B, which is suspension and expulsion by race, which is for the past 2 years, we have suspended more students with minorities than the state has allowed at 3%. Deduct that off my tongue. Okay. And then we have a bonus of 0.75% or point because we participate in the Guidepost to Graduation grant, and we have to attend so many meetings and participate with that to get the bonus points. So we did get that. So total, we earned 26.85 points with the bonus, and it equated to a 73.6 percentage. You have to have an 80 to not be on needs assistance. So we are a few percentage points away from meets. And so it's meets determination, needs assistance, and then there's 2 more. We're not going to get to those 2 more that are down there. So we're going to work to make sure that we move back up to meets. So what we do with this is create the next thing that I gave you. I'm not going to read it to you. I'm just going to give you an overview. So it is called the Targeted Systemic Improvement Plan, and our focus area is on least restrictive environment because that was the one that we had the biggest discrepancy. So that's your 5A, 5B, and 5C. So we have a plan there. You all can review that, but basically we have, you had a choice between graduation, pre-K, assessment, and least restrictive environment. And so we went with the focus of least restrictive environment this year. Activities are on the back, and we are working on that throughout this year. And then the next page is just more in-depth kind of analysis of those indicators and the improvement plan that we have in place. We are being monitored by the State Department next week, and this was one of the requirements on our entry interview. We will be discussing this with them, and they'll be asking questions and going over that. But all of that is related to our determination matrix. So that's the accountability part. I did want to highlight a few things, just spotlight. For transition, instruction, and least restrictive environment, that's kind of where our initiatives and where we're spending a lot of time this year. I invite you to go to the Mount View campus or the Riverview and Sandy River campus. We have installed a PACE lab, which PACE stands for Practical Assessment Exploration System, and what it is we're bringing job exploration to the classroom instead of trying to have our kids go out and job shadow. We don't have a lot of opportunities for them to go out and look at things. So what you see, that's their job charts that they have there. They go in and the classroom is pretty much transformed into a workplace. Teacher becomes the supervisor, students become the workers, they clock in, they clock out at their period, they get paydays for their work. They get their job card. By the end of the year, if they go through every module, they will have been able to have practice with 164 job skills, soft skills, and applicable skills. So I think both schools are going to have community nights once they get really up and running and get some things going. So they are learning about that. And so that's 6th through 12th grade. What we're using it for this year is our their moderate classrooms, and they are using it kind of as a pilot to make sure that we have everything in working order and use it well. The next one is we're continuing to use the unique curriculum, and in that we have seen some growth, like we said, in 8th grade for the alternate assessment. Like we met the state target there. It's all aligned to their statements. That's Miss Harmon at Riverview, and she said they were working on 3 number by 3 number multiplication. And this is just the elementary focus wall, and this is at Sandy River. She's budgeting. She had a grocery list. She had to plan for a meal, and so she's using that as part of her math through that curriculum. And then the bottom part is we did a co-teaching training, and we are looking at the elementary schools and middle schools, providing that opportunity for students who are able to be in the general ed classroom with supports, and to have 2 or more. Now that we have ECATs up to 3rd grade, a lot of those classrooms will have 3 adults in, and so that they can provide more supports, more levels of support in the general ed classroom. So that's Jaeger, and you can see there's Mr. Hamilton and Miss Bailey, and then they have an independent group. And this is them that Miss Roberts has made time in her schedule for co-teacher planning time. She has that for collaboration. And then this is Southside. I'll just show you a video of this is the perfect world scenario of how it's supposed to work. Got Miss Brooks teaching here, Miss Riggs here, and then her aide has also got a group on the other table, and students of mixed abilities are working together, so it's not just your special ed kids always working with the other special ed kids, and always that teacher. So they have their groups there, and they have a timer up, and they know when they're supposed to switch. This is called station teaching, and it's one of the models of co-teaching, and it's one of the most effective of the models. So we have 6 different models, but that's the one that we want to see the most. So, all right, that's it. Any questions?
Any questions, Dr. Reese?
No questions? No questions. No. Thank you. Next, we have staffing data and action plans to recruit and retain qualified personnel. Tanya White, Director of Personnel.
Good afternoon. I just want to provide you all with a really quick overview of some of the initiatives that we have and just status on what our numbers are. So will you click it? I don't have a clicker. Okay, this is just a breakdown of each school and what their staff looks like right now. So you'll see the dark blue on the bottom. that is your fully certified full-time teachers. Then, each little color is something else. So we've got full-time teachers on permit, which means they're working toward that full certification. Pre-teaching subs. What that means is we have some long-term subs in positions. They are currently completing the rest of their requirements to get their full certification. Retired subs, so that's self-explanatory there, and then other subs. These are the subs who don't have that education background. But one thing I can say is the majority of these subs that are in long-term placements, this is not their first year in that placement. So we've tried to be consistent. If we had to have one position, we had to have them in science last year and it's still vacant, we've tried to keep them on that course. That way their training applies. This is the current status of our teaching vacancies. You'll notice the majority of them are special education. Used to be math, but we did fill our math positions. So this is just a breakdown. That's not going to vary a whole lot, just if it keeps with what it did last year and previous years. That's actually a little less than what we normally carry. So there's different paths to certification. So we work with our teachers for all of them. You have your traditional pathway. You go into college, you're an education major, you complete, and you begin your work career. First class permit is usually people who they got their bachelor's in something other than education and they've decided to switch careers into education. So we work with them. They get 5 years to obtain their full certification. And they have to make continual progress through that 5 years. Alternative pathway, we've gotten more of those opportunities within the last couple years. So we've got some approved higher ed programs. They've offered some accelerated programs where it doesn't take years to complete. You can complete it in 1 year, provided that you pass all of your licensing exams. So we've had several that have already utilized that. I teach. We've just recently got completers from that, or they're in the process of completing. But it's pretty much the same thing, but they have their own program. It's the I Teach program. So we're filtering as many as we can into whichever one fits. Currently, we have 134 service employees. We had 8 service vacancies on our last posting. 2 of those are the specialized maintenance positions, and those are the ones that are really difficult to fill because they have to have those certifications. So we struggle with that. We're working on it. We post them each time. If someone comes in and they apply, we'll bring them in, give them the test, and see, if it's something we can move forward on. Our substitutes, you can go again. We currently have 60 professional substitutes on the list. That doesn't really mean that 60 people will take any job that's offered to them, but they are on the list. Restricted and short-term subs, we have 9. What this means, restricted, they either have an associate's degree or at least 60 credit hours, and they are allowed to sub for 10 consecutive days in the same position. So, they can only be a very brief period of time that they're filling that spot. Your short-term subs can sub up to 30 days. They have a bachelor's degree, but for whatever reason, it wasn't enough to get them a long-term sub permit. Then we have our long-term subs, our fully certified, which are those retired I was telling you about. We have 4 on the list for admin, 2 for counseling, and 1 for sub-nurse. Our service substitutes, we currently have 65. However, if you look there at our list, there's only 4 that are sub-bus operators. So you can see where that's going to create a problem, especially as the year moves forward. And so just be patient with us. I talked to the transportation department. They do have some people in training, but I think they've talked with you before. Training takes so long to get that in that endorsement to where they're cleared to drive. So they're in the process, but it's not a quick process. Also, I've talked to you all before about the Third Grade Success Act. It requires an aide in pre-K through third grade, and we had to keep expanding that because of House Bill 3035. We now have 28 aide ECATs in grades pre-K through third. So we have reached up to that third grade level, and right now that's what we have. Of course, if enrollment changes, and it does fluctuate, that could go up. We can't do that until personnel season, but that's where we stand as of today. The new retirement rule has came along and caught everyone by surprise, so I just wanted to go over it with you all. This is really going to affect us mostly with our bus operators, because previously, if they wanted to retire, we could ask for a critical needs waiver, which we still do, but now that they have put this in and they snuck it through, nobody realized it was part of this bill until it was already passed. So now, instead of being able to retire and go directly on the sub list, they have to have 60 consecutive days from their effective date. So if they were effective June 30th or July 1st, then you have to go 60 days after that before they could even be considered for reemployment. Now, it gets even more convoluted because we're not allowed to talk to them about coming back to sub. That is one of the stipulations. It says that we have no discussions about reemployment. So we had someone who was going to retire, and they said, well, we want to come back and be a sub. And we were like, well, we can't really talk to you about that right now. So after 60 days, we can talk to them. Yeah. If they do, and it's not just if they come back to work for us, if they were to go work for another agency that participates in that retirement program, they could lose their retirement and be forced to pay back any money that they've received. So it's going to be difficult because we do have a few bus operators who are talking about retirement, and as you can see, we don't have the subs. So it's going to be something that not just us, all the counties are going to feel it. But some of our initiatives to try to be proactive and invest in our kids early and bring them back as quickly as possible. One of those is the clinical teacher of record. Once a education student has gotten so far in their program, then they're ready for their student teaching. They can come and be hired full-time at a reduced salary, but they do receive a salary, and they'll complete that requirement in their own classroom. So at the end of that, then we can hire them at their regular max salary that they would get as a new teacher, and they would be fully certified, and we would get to hang on to them a little quicker. We have several partnerships with surrounding colleges, and the more we partner with as many people as we can to just keep the doors open. So we don't have any that are on it right now, but I have several who are ready pretty soon. They're thinking by December, so we'll be able to bring them back in. Another thing we're doing is the Grow Your Own program. I know they've spoken to you before, but the program continues to really shine. We've got, as of right now, there's 5 juniors enrolled, but 16 seniors. So, and we've added some apprentice positions. They can earn up to 32 college credits before they ever go to college through this program. And then they can return to the schools and begin in those CTR positions earlier because they are going to enter as sophomores, so we're going to get them faster back into our schools. So it's better for them, it's a win for us, so that's something that we really want to see continued. Recruitment events, and I've just got a few there. We always attend Bluefield State and Concord, other things, virtual, things like that come up. But our our main colleges that we see the most come from is usually Bluefield State and Concord. And then that is it. If you all have any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next is board members LSIC training. Dr. Barker's going to train us. Go fast.
Well, the voice of the screen will train you. As you know, it's our second year of following the new legislative rules that with LSIC training, we have to make sure that the board members, principals, LSIC members get trained yearly on the function, the governance, the role of LSIC. And this is like one of those first meetings in the school year. So some of you are on LSIC councils for the schools. So that first organizational meeting is usually the one that you will be trained in as those LSIC members. And the requirement is once I train, we listen to this video so that everybody receives the same information. Then I go into Weavis and I put the date of training and I list the names of the board members who are being trained.
Hello, my name is Tammy Harney, and I'm a coordinator at the West Virginia Department of Education in the Office of Accountability. Today's training will be on the local school improvement councils, also known as LSICs. As a result of the passage of Senate Bill 172, Policy 2322 has changed regarding LSICs. For Policy 2322, this rule requires training of County Board of Education members in the development and operation of LSICs in West Virginia Public Schools. The purpose of this training is to inform principals, county boards, and others deemed appropriate of the roles and governance of LSICs. LSICs help develop and promote the schools and county's vision, encourage involvement from all stakeholders, and represent the voice of the community. Voting membership of the LSIC consists of the principal, 3 teachers who are elected by the faculty senate of the school, 2 service personnel who are elected by other service personnel at that school, 1 who may be a bus operator who transports students enrolled at the school. Other voting members are 3 parents, guardians, or custodians that have a student enrolled at that school and can be elected by other parents, guardians, or custodians in a manner determined by the principal. Parents may not be employed at that school in any capacity. The 3 at-large members are appointed. At least 1 must reside in the school's attendance area and 1 who represents business or industry. The at-large members are not eligible for membership under any of the elected classes of members. For CTE schools and comprehensive middle and high schools, 4 additional members are appointed by the principal or CTE director. For students in grade 7 or higher, the student body president can be a member or another student in grade 7 or higher elected by the student body in those grades. Parents, guardians, or custodians, teachers, and service personnel each serve a term of 2 years. All other members serve a 1-year term. Elections for parents, guardians, or custodians, as well as teachers, shall be arranged so that no more than 2 are elected each year. Elections for service personnel shall be arranged so that no more than 1 is elected each year. Reasons for replacing a council member include resignation, absence from 2 members to assist the chair in setting agendas for each meeting. The chair shall serve a 1-year term. If the chair's position becomes vacant for any reason, the principal shall call a meeting to elect another qualified person to serve the unexpired term. Once elected, the chair is responsible for notifying each member in writing 5 business days in advance of any LSIC meeting. The principal shall not serve as the LSIC chair. General operational procedures involve the county superintendent monitoring principals to ensure all LSIC meetings occur as outlined in Policy 2322. All meetings must be open and announced to the public in compliance with the provisions of the Open Governmental Proceedings Act. LSICs shall ensure that minutes are taken at every meeting and made available to the public on the school's website and upon written request made to the school's principal or council chair. Each LSIC may adopt a set of bylaws that are consistent with state and local policy and West Virginia code. The West Virginia Department of Education provides resources and technical support to help conduct effective LSIC meetings. The council is required to hold specific meetings. The election meeting and the organizational meeting are necessary for establishing the LSIC. Additionally, the council meets every 9 weeks or equivalent grading period. Both the stakeholder meeting and the county board meeting with the LSIC of low-performing schools qualify as required meetings within the 9-week time frame. Resources to assist with all meetings are available on the West Virginia Department of Education website. Principals must organize the election of members to the LSIC before September 15th. A meeting notice shall be given at least 1 week in advance. During this meeting, parents, guardians, or custodians of students enrolled at that school will be nominated and elected by their peers. Parents, guardians, or custodians elected to the LSIC cannot be employed at that school in any capacity. The organizational meeting will be held after the election of council members and must take place no later than October 1st of each year. The principal is responsible for notifying each member through written or electronic means at least 5 days in advance of the meeting. An agenda will be provided to all members prior to the meeting. During the organizational meeting, the council will elect a chairperson from its membership, along with 2 additional members to assist the chair in setting the agenda and taking minutes for each meeting. Additionally, the principal will ensure that all members complete the LSIC training, show members where to locate the LSIC resources, and provide each member with Policy 2322 and the relevant West Virginia code. The LSIC will hold at least 1 stakeholder meeting each year, announcing it at least 10 business days in advance. The purpose of this meeting is to facilitate a positive and interactive dialogue among all stakeholders regarding the school's academic performance. We recommend scheduling this meeting in October utilizing the West Virginia Balanced Scorecard data. During the meeting, stakeholders will have the opportunity to provide specific suggestions on addressing issues that may impact the school's academic performance. These issues include parent and community involvement, the learning environment, student engagement, attendance, behavior, support for at-risk students, curricular offerings, resources, and the capacity for school improvement. The LSIC will ensure that a report detailing concerns, suggestions, and points raised during the meeting is produced and made available on both the school and county websites. This report should also be submitted to the Office of Accountability at the West Virginia Department of Education, preferably before the start of the next school year. Resources to assist with the completion of this report can be found on the West Virginia Department of Education website. County Board of Education members once a year with the LSIC of each school identified as low performing under the West Virginia accountability system. This applies specifically to comprehensive support and improvement schools. The principal and the LSIC chair should be prepared to discuss topics that the county board requests outlined in the meeting agenda. This meeting also provides an opportunity for the county board to offer suggestions for addressing issues that may impact the school's academic performance. Following each school year, the County Board of Education members must report the details of their meeting with the LSICs to the West Virginia Department of Education, with a deadline for submission no later than September 1st. Other LSIC activities include proposing alternatives and promoting innovation. The council can request a waiver of rules and policies of county and state boards. The LSIC can also receive School of Excellence and competitive grant awards. County superintendents are responsible for ensuring that principals and members of the County Board of Education complete the required training. Principals must ensure that all members of the LSIC also complete this training. Once all trainings have been completed, the superintendent will verify completion for the entire county on WEVAS. Therefore, principals must inform the superintendent when all LSIC members have completed their training. Guidance on how to verify the training can be found on the West Virginia Department of Education website. You can visit the West Virginia Department of Education website for LSIC resources and guidance. For additional information, questions, or concerns, feel free to contact me by phone or email. I appreciate your participation in this training and wish you all a successful and safe school year. Thank you. Hello, my name is Tammy Barney, and I'm a coordinator.
So just to give you a little bit more of a detail on some of these, when they talk about the low-performing schools. So these are the schools that have been identified as comprehensive support and improvement schools. We had one, which was Yeager Elementary. So every year we have Yeager Elementary come in and work with you to present their stakeholder findings from the meeting. So we keep their presentation, we keep the minutes and agendas of the meeting, and then at the end of the year, I submit a survey with all the documentation stating that the board has met with the low-performing schools, so we comply with that code. So I train you here, I put it in WEVAS. Also will be training principals on September 19th, a principals meeting, and then they will be the ones responsible to train their LSIC members. So they will have to go into WEVAS and submit the date of the training and who was trained to comply with the code. And then I have to make sure I verify that everybody has submitted their trainings. So we are in compliance with all of these requirements for the LSIC reporting. Do you have any questions?
Next is the superintendent goals, Dr. Barker.
So I have provided you with a sheet of paper that has my goals on it. I also have shared those in a email with you. So just wanted to provide you with just the review and specific action steps for each of my goals. Of course, the first one is we just keep on working on improving academic achievement and growth. And of course, we have to focus on attendance, because as you know, when we looked at our attendance markers, that's the first thing that we have to focus on. And we spent quite a lot of time with principals. And Mr. Lester told you at the last meeting how we are working with the agencies to help us track attendance and make sure our students get the supports they need. So as part of my goal for that, we will utilize data to work with our schools so they have a process and procedures to identify at-risk students early. So we started like pretty much this week, we already have the names of students who have not been to school at all or already missed 2 or 3 days of school, so that we can really start catching them early and making sure that we provide the supports for them to be in school. We also focus on implementing evidence-based instructional strategies to make sure we address those learning gaps. We are coming out of a really hard year with lots of school missed due to inclement weather, so we need to make sure we provide the students with the supports necessary. Of course, with benchmark assessments, we have acquired a benchmark system for our grades 9 through 11, so our benchmark assessment system is now grades K through 11. So we have created the calendar, and we are really working in a focused and systematic way to make sure our teachers and students engage in data talks, that they review the data and make actionable plans. We also are going to keep strengthening the system of our weekly classroom walkthroughs. Central office, instructional and non-instructional team have a schedule of which schools they're visiting this year and which schools they're going to each month. Ms. Payton is working on providing the calendar and expectations for peer walkthroughs so that the school principals have days in the month designated to go to other schools and learn what those other schools are doing in terms of attendance supports, instructional improvement, and behavior interventions. So that's why we just kind of want to engage everybody on the administrative level to make sure we're all on the same page. For goal 2, of course, if we expect to improve student achievement and growth, we want to make sure that we support staff development and retention. And we know we have a really strong, robust system of professional development, so we'll keep on providing professional development that supports the teacher focus on student growth and English language arts and, of course, mathematics. And we're also working with the principals to make sure they know how to support that instruction. Of course, another one that we really would like to focus on this year is focusing on teacher well-being. Because if we don't take care of our staff who have tremendously hard jobs, we will not be able to push them to be their best just because they're just exhausted from everything coming and going. So I really want to focus on addressing the emotional and mental well-being of our staff. And I also want to keep on strengthening those external and internal communications between the board members and the staff and our community and all the news sources so that we can continue promoting all the great things that are happening in our county. And I've just recently when we went to the School Board Association, when I would just talk to people from outside of the county, like there were several people who mentioned how positive our Facebook page is, how great of a job all of our people are doing to help our students. And I think that's a testament to us promoting that we have great things going on, we have great people working in our school system, just because by default we always get a bad rep, and we just keep on changing that perception by really showing the world like this is what we are about and how many different things are happening in our schools to support our students. Goal 3 is to ensure a safe and effective learning environment. We had the safety conference in August. Our principals worked hard to get their crisis plans updated, to get their plans really focused on what's needed and make plans to actually practice. So I think we were on a really good solid start, and as we go, and because I asked the staff, the principals, to keep their staff once every quarter, and of course they'll be paid a stipend to go over the drills, because we need to make sure we practice what we preach, because if we do have, God forbid, a situation, we know what to do. I'm working with Mr. Chapman to make sure monthly safety and custodial audits are conducted, so that we keep on working on making sure that our buildings are clean and inviting and welcoming. And of course, working with Mr. Chapman to address the projects that we have outlined in our comprehensive educational facilities plan. In terms of just our student well-being, we of course are working with Dr. Reese to make sure that we strengthen our wraparound supports. And as you know, Dr. Reese told you before, we have at least 3 agencies that come in to provide mental health supports for our students. And of course, we have Cook Center that we'll keep on pushing, and we looked at another one today just to kind of help our students and our staff to have those supports that they need. And of course, making sure that we work with families to tell them this is what we have available, because a lot of times we don't have resources readily available for the families, so we need to make sure they know what we are providing and what we can do to help our students and help the families. And the last is just one of my ongoing goals, is to foster college and career readiness, to expand the opportunities for our students to be in dual credit classes, and just expand the number of colleges that we are partnering with. As I told you previously, we have added West Virginia State University to our partner list, so we are offering dual credit courses for students actually now starting in 11th grade instead of starting in 12th grade for core. So that will give us a lot more in terms of dual credit courses. And we're also working with Ms. Howington to start building partnerships so that the students who go to the CTE, they also are able to get dual credit classes, because like especially with nursing, computers, there are just multiple opportunities to get those from Bluefield State or Concord University. And of course, we'll continue leveraging community partnerships to make sure our students explore careers. They learn more about technical education, that our seniors and CTE classes have learning opportunities by going to businesses and actually just having sort of like internships with them. So we are strengthening that this year as well. Do you have any questions about my goals?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, personnel, the personnel agenda. You have all of that, and we have the resignation, retirements, and teacher professional personnel, employment extracurricular, employment of coaching personnel, resignation of coaching personnel, employment of service personnel, transfer of service personnel, resignation, retirement, other service personnel, ratified suspension of service personnel, specialized health care. We've looked over that. If we have a motion to approve. Motion by Larkin. Second by Angie. Do you have any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And make a note that there's, like you are back there. You know Ed's on the line, right? Okay.
Joined at 4:14.
Next is the volunteer agenda. We have all those. If you've looked at them, then entertain a motion to accept. Motion by Angie. Second by Margaret. Do you have any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The next item H is finance, allowed and authorized payment of bills and budget revisions. Invoices presented for payment are available in the finance office during normal business hours. Do we have a motion to approve finance? Motion by Margaret. Second by Larkin. Do you have any questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The next one is approval of McDowell County Board of Education monthly financial report. July reports are audited. Motion by Angie to accept. Did Larkin second? Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Approval to authorize school funder events. We have,
Make a motion to take all of them together.
okay, we have a motion by Angie that we would take them and approve them all together. Second by Larkin. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Next is the action items. The first one is approval memorandum of understanding between WVU Extension, Family Nutrition Program, and McDowell County Board of Education. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Motion by Angie, second by Larkin. Do you have any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, the next one is the approval of the superintendent goals that she just went over. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Larkin, second by Margaret. Do you have any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Number 3 is approval of student trip request, Matewan Middle School, Sandy River Middle School, 6 through 8, football game, September 11th. That's today.
I make a motion that we approve 3 through 9 together for all school trips.
A motion by Angie to approve 3 through 9, second by Larkin. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Next item is the superintendent updates.
So just wanted to let you know that the accountability scorecard did come out yesterday. No, it came out today. So I will be sharing that at the next board meeting. So we'll go over the methodology again, how they calculate, because it's different than what you see in the general summative assessment data. So it can be confusing. So we always go through the methodology. Just some of the highlights as before I show you the data later on, that our English achievement went like 1.5%. Our percent of students who actually made progress in English went up 6% from last year. Our four-year graduation cohorts as a county went up 3%. And our postgraduate success, which means the students who are taking dual credit classes, who are completers of the TTC, which means they completed the coursework and they passed NOCTI test, it went up actually 10%. So 75% of our students got out of school with some sort of a credential that would help them go out into the workforce or go to college. And I don't know if I shared with you recently, because when we were looking at the data on the college going rate, for longest time when we just started in 2000, like early 2000s, it was 25%. Then it went up to 35%. So when I was getting ready for the principals meeting just recently, and I checked the college going rate in a county, it was actually up to 45%. And I would like to credit our schools and the board for providing the dual credit opportunities for our students to get in early and get that support to go on to college. Just wanted to let you know that we are looking with our attorneys at the deeds for Kimball Elementary and Welch Elementary. And the reason we started this, we have been working on this for a couple months just to see what these properties entail. And as you know, anything in McDowell County, when you look at the property, it's something that has been deeded to the board from a coal company or other for a specific educational purpose. So we have to find the deeds, look at the deeds. Some of them go back into 1950s, 1940s, and so they have a interesting language sometimes that our attorneys have to go through and see how it would be applicable should you decide to convey the property or do something else with the property. So they're almost finished looking at Welch property because it seems like it's not as complex, but the Kimball property does have several deeds that they have to look at, so that creates some issues with tax maps. So just keep on being patient. You know, they're trying to make sure we cross every T and dot every I when you look at those deeds, because we don't want to end up making a decision and then having to backtrack because those deeds were not adequately researched. But as soon as we have more updates, I will let you know like what we are doing and what you would like to do as the next steps. Our benchmark windows for grades K-8 and 9 through 11 are approaching, so our K-8 ready window will start on the 16th of September because the state will pull the data from iReady on the 26th of September, and our 9 through 11 benchmarking, that will start on September 22nd. As Dr. Reese told you, we have special ed audit. They're coming in next week. We're having the pre-audit call on Monday, and they will be in schools, and we'll have the exit meeting on Thursday. We're also having a pre-audit call with pre-K, with Ms. Payton, so we'll have, that is coming too at some point. We are finishing pre-cosmetology lab. The inspector is coming to inspect the lab tomorrow at 1:30, so just keep fingers crossed that we will get everything approved and we'll be ready to go. I mean, we have really good solid numbers in pre-cosmetology. Students are excited, so we just want to get through this last hurdle. We had reading mastery and corrected reading training here at the board today and yesterday for our Title I staff. And just also wanted to, I told you in an email to put September 29th, the tentative date for our dedication ceremony for Caulfield. And it will be at 9 o'clock. We will be getting information at closer to 10, yeah, because we have breakfast. But you will be getting invites. I just did not want you to make plans. If you can, I would like for you to be at that at the ceremony, because it took everybody's hard work and dedication to get the school. So I also wanted to kind of give you just some more information. Like Ms. White said, we only have 4 substitute bus operators, and we have some that are working every day, and that affects our schedule for extracurriculars. So for example, if the football team has to go to a place in like Riverview, has to go to further places because they are now a AA, so they have to go further just to play those bigger schools, which means they have to leave at 3:30 or at 2 just to get out. And because Mr. Griggle does not have substitutes, like he cannot provide either a substitute or a bus driver for that trip, just because our first goal is to play school. We have to make sure we have children taken to homes, and then if we have time and the team has time to travel on a bus, then we will of course providing the bus. But like if somebody asks, like we truly have not a body if we cannot provide a bus for the travel. So we've been working with principals to come up with some other methods just to be able to take our students to the games, because we definitely don't want them to suffer because of this. Just wanted to give you this information. Also, you have seen we had to do the evacuation at Riverview and Sandy River today, and it just stemmed from a graffiti on a bathroom wall saying, well, just with a bomb threat. And we take every single threat seriously, because if it's like just 0.1% chance that it might be true, we'll still go over and make sure every single safety protocol is followed. So that was the case here. Like the officers were on site, and like Bradshaw Fire Department did a great job mitigating the situation, keeping people where they need to be. But the building was clean. There was no threat found, and I know it took a lot of time because we have some 600 some kids in a very full Riverview building, so it took a while for the officers to sweep the building clean, and that's why we made the decision to have the students go home, because we did not want them to be sitting on evacuation site for 3-4 hours in the sun. That's why we made that decision to take them home. But again, the building was clean, so the threat was unsubstantiated, and we made sure everybody was safe. But it did take quite a bit of time to kind of go through these protocols.
So that doesn't affect Bradshaw Elementary at all?
At that time, because we rely on the Sheriff's Department to inform us as to our next steps, so we always rely on them to tell us what's needed. So, and at that point, they decided that Bradshaw would be on a soft lockdown. We did not want people to coming in or going out of the building, because we still wanted to have those precautions followed. But they, with the situation and information they had on hand, they did not feel that that evacuation was necessary. So, and I also want to, of course, and you, especially Ms. Robinette, you know that like when we have a situation happening like this, we always work with law enforcement. So we have the Sheriff's Department, so they become the commanders, and we just kind of follow everything that they tell us because they have the training in this area. That's all I have.
How many kids did you say we have in our whole school system?
We have, at this point, yesterday when I looked at, our enrollment was at 2183, which of course, this is all of our students in our schools. We are monitoring the enrollment because we also have to look at, because some students are not included because of age. So like some threes, they're not included in school aid formula. Then we have some, like especially on that other side of the county, if you have students who live in Virginia, but they come to, into one of our schools, we don't get state aid formula for those who live in Virginia. So there are some so we have to subtract those numbers to make sure that we have accurate numbers. So last time when I looked, and again, until we submit the information, I will not be able to tell you accurately what our loss is, but at this point it's looking like we lost 138 students as of like 2 days ago when I was looking at FTE for last year and FTE what it's showing like this year. So it probably would be around, I'd say 850,000 loss from in-state aid from the previous year.
So if we have kids that come here from Virginia, does Virginia have to give us any kind of funding?
No. And we don't have many, just 3 or 4, like at Riverview, I think there are 3. So it's not many, but it's, it's still something that shows up on our records, and we just have to be cognizant that we have these families.
I never even thought about kids from Virginia coming in.
Yeah, Southside, Riverview, Bradshaw, and Sandy River have quite a little bit.
So we don't get state fund for those?
No.
What about some of our students, like the football player, maybe some other athletics, their kids went to Graham or Bluefield? Do they get? I mean, I know it takes away from us when they leave.
But Virginia, like if you cross the state line, they do not get funding from the state of West Virginia. Yep.
The question I had too, with the deeds, if we have issues like with Kimball's deed and we don't have issues with Welch, we would go ahead and proceed with Welch while we're waiting on the Kimball thing?
You can, yeah.
Because it took us a while to get the Norfolk one
Yeah.
taken care of
Yeah.
before too.
Which I talked to Mr. D'Antoni at the at Bolton Rice the other day, and he just said that they're pretty much finished looking at Kimball's deed, so I don't see it as being a huge weight. They just needed to make sure that they had conversations with, I think it's Pocahontas Cole, because some of them have that parcel, some of those parcels. So we just need to make sure that everything is good there. I don't anticipate longer waits, but if they say everything is good to go with Welch, then I'll present that to you, because I also have, until they had those deeds done, I could not really start writing the letters like you requested. So I have a letter to Welch ready to go, because the deeds were reviewed for the property of Welch. Just asking them, telling them, like, what's your financial situation? Like, these are some major projects he would need to look into, because that school has those. So I have that ready to go, but as soon as, he said probably tomorrow or Monday, he'll talk to us about the rest of it, and I'll just keep you appraised. But yeah, we'll take it. If we need to, we'll take it one at a time.
Was there still questions about whether or not, like, the playground part down that one area there, the playground area, did that go with the school, or was that something, I remember we had some questions about whether or not that actually was.
They're
a
different
community
parcels.
thing, but it's
They
still
belong
part of
to
the
us,
school.
but it just, all of these, you have, I think, 2 or 3 different parcels. And that's what they were trying to make sure, that each parcel has a deed that does not present you with some legal difficulties. But yeah, it belongs to us, and I think we're paying leases on a couple of those little parcels. But they have everything. They found it, because it's really, sometimes you have to really take time to find everything and figure out who is responsible for what. So I think they have it. They just need to make sure every single verbiage in those parcel descriptions and deeds is not going to give you legal headaches down the line.
And if they all go together.
Well, for us, we have them all together, and then you will be able to decide, what do you want to do? Do you want to present them as one big, piece of land, even though it's containing different parcels, or you want to say, we want to keep this and we want to do this with this. But until we know what's exactly is comprising that area, we don't want to make those decisions.
Because I think the Norfolk, we ended up in court to make
Yeah,
a
it was very
determination
convoluted,
where the school was
yes.
gonna go and how it could.
Yeah, I don't think it's to that point of convoluted with these, yeah.
would be good. So, next is the announcement of future meetings, September the 25th, here at the central office. There will also be live stream link for that, and it is 5:15. We have a motion to adjourn. Motion by Margaret. Second by Angie. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We are now